Now, a team of volunteers are about to begin an unusual experiment. For 1 week, they'll each be living a life cut off from the world around them. No conversations, no phones, only the TV for company.
Well, what they're trying to do is reproduce the experience of more than 1 million elderly people who live lonely and isolated lives. Our health correspondent Dominic Hughes has been to meet one of those volunteers.
I'm going to miss you.
How are you?
Yeah.
How good week, baby?
Okay. Mwah.
Christy Vincent is preparing for what could be a long week. And it's not just her boyfriend and flatmates that she'll have to do without.
Bye-bye.
She's been given various bits of kit to mimic the physical challenges of ageing, as well as the isolation that more than 1 million elderly people experience every week.
Got to obviously try on all these pieces of equipment and experience, you know, some of what an elderly person would experience. But again, like, it's only for like a short amount of time, and then I get to come out of it. Whereas, you know, many elderly people are experiencing this, you know, for years and years and years.
Well, we saw Christy looking through the box of goodies that's been left her, and this, for example, is a box of dried peas and beans and popcorn kernels, and they'll be put in these socks, and when she puts them on, it simulates arthritis in the feet because it's very difficult to walk on them, very uncomfortable. These diving gloves, for example, you put them on, makes it very difficult to pick things up. Again, that simulates something like arthritis. And these glasses, when you put them on, they simulate impaired vision because it distorts everything, makes everything a bit blurry, and also it's very difficult to sort of coordinate your movements.
Before moving into this care home, Betty Judge lived alone. She says she coped well most of the time, but there were occasions when it was tough.
I did get a feel of depression once. That was awful. And I couldn't sort of ward it off. It would just come over you.
In fact, elderly people who live a life of isolation are more prone to depression and are less likely to try and get help and support. But overcoming loneliness doesn't have to be complicated.
For instance, if you see an older person in the supermarket, you might be able to help them take that jar down off the shelf, and then don't run off, just smile at them and see if they want a little chat. So it can be something as small as that. It can be making sure your neighbour is okay. And then let's forget our relatives, our elderly relatives. Birthday cards can be so important to them.
Really hard, really.
So, while it could be a difficult week for Christy and her fellow volunteers, many more elderly people live a life of loneliness day in, day out. Dominic Hughes, BBC News.
Yes, just a reminder for you, we'll be speaking to Christy Vincent next week on Breakfast. We will find out how she got on with that experiment.